Now that we know how to describe an electromagnetic wave as the oscillations of the electric and the magnetic fields, it is time to describe two or more electromagnetic waves interfering at a point. If we have two or more electromagnetic waves propagating in the same space, to study the electromagnetic perturbation at a specific point, we can use the principle of superposition. So we add both waves at that point. Here we need to consider not just the oscillation and direction of propagation, but also the relative polarization of the waves. For the sake of simplicity, we will start with the case where the electric fields of two waves of the same frequency, where both waves oscillate in the same direction, although they might be propagating in different directions. So we can describe them as E1 equals to E01 cosine of Ks1 minus omega t plus phi1, where S1 is the position coordinate with respect to the origin of that wave, and phi1 is its initial phase, the phase it had when t was equals to 0. The same for the second wave, E2 equal to E02 cosine of Ks2 minus omega t plus phi2. To simplify the arguments of the trigonometric functions, I will call Ks1 plus phi1 alpha 1 and Ks2 plus phi2 alpha 2. These two waves cross their paths at point P. There the total electric field will be E1 plus E2, which writes as, depending on the relative phases, the interference between both waves can be constructive, destructive, or something in between. If both waves are in phase at that point, then alpha 2 is the same as alpha plus a multiple of 2 pi. Which then is the same as alpha 1. And we have that the net electric field is E01 plus E02 times the cosine of alpha 1 minus omega t. But if both waves are out of phase at that point, alpha 2 is the same as alpha 1 plus an odd number of pi. This will write as alpha 1 plus 2m plus 1 times pi, where m is an integer number. But the cosine of theta plus or minus pi is the negative cosine of theta, so but if both waves are neither in 2 pi phase nor in pi phase, completely in phase or completely out of phase, then we write the general form as, let me now use the complex notation to add these two waves. E at P is the real part of E01 times E to the power of I alpha 1 minus omega t, plus E02 times E to the power of I alpha 2 minus omega t. Or we can rearrange. So the net wave is the real part of E0 e to the I alpha minus omega t, which is E0 the cosine of alpha minus omega t. The amplitude of the resultant wave can be extracted from the 2D representation of polar notation. Using Pythagoras, E0 squared is E01 cosine of alpha 1 plus E02 cosine of alpha 2 all squared plus E01 sine of alpha 1 plus E naught 2 sine of alpha 2 all squared. With a bit of wibbly wobbly math, which is the cosine theorem applied to the triangle. The tangent of the face of the resultant wave is E naught sine of alpha 1 plus E naught 2 sine of alpha 2 over E naught 1 cosine of alpha 1 plus E naught 2 cosine of alpha 2. This you can generalize to the sum of n electromagnetic waves as E naught squared equal to the square of the sum of E naught I sine of alpha I plus the square of the sum of E naught I cosine of alpha I. This can be rearranged as the sum of E naught I squared plus 2 times the sums of E naught I, E naught j cosine of alpha j minus alpha I. In this expression, we can see the interference term in these sums that contain cosines of the phase differences. And the tangent of alpha is generalized as the sum of E naught I sine of alpha I over the sum of E naught I cosine of alpha I. This I laid as an exercise for you to do. Let's explore now what happens if you add n-coherent waves. By coherence, we mean that the waves have the same frequency and oscillate in frequency so that they are in oscillating phase. This can be achieved with the laser source, as we will see when we study lasers. Well, in this case, all alphas are equal, so the difference is alpha j minus alpha I are 0, then the cosines are all 1. All those terms add up together, and the resulting wave has a magnitude of the sum of E naught I squared plus 2 times the sums of E naught I times E naught j. But if you look at this from close, you see that this is the square of the sum of the E naughts. So we can rewrite this as the square of the sums of E naught I, but because all the n E naught I are equal, then n E naught 1 squared, which is n squared E naught 1 squared. So the magnitude is n times the magnitude of each individual wave. Here we are optimizing the energy propagation. If you remember from when we introduced the irradiance as the power density per unit area, which is proportional to the square of the electric field, the irradiance here is n squared times the irradiance of a single of these waves. Now let's move to a different situation. Let's consider the sum of n waves whose phases are randomized, so that each phase is randomly distributed with respect to the others. That can be the light coming from a thermal source, although you could also use a laser to send those waves through an oscillating mirror that is going to randomize those phases. You could also use a pulsed laser, a laser that you turn on and off. Each time that you turn the laser on, it will emit coherent light, but the phase will be random with respect to the previous and the next pulses. In this case, if we have n large enough, the cosines of alpha j minus alpha I are going to be cancelled, as on average we'll have for every positive contribution the same and opposite one. Then these terms will cancel, and we get that E naught squared is going to be just n times E naught 1 squared. So the irradiance will be n times the irradiance of a single wave. Well, think about this and may science be with you.